Farmer Joe, the man, the myth, the legend. Welcome to the show.
Yo, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me. Yeah, I overheard you guys talking about macro a little bit, which kind of drives a lot of my trading decisions at the time. And man, it's been a really, I would say, difficult market to like make any sort of money and or like outside of like the ultra cap small names like it's just tough to see like massive movers recently. But there's a rate cut today, and maybe that isn't necessarily a recession trigger, which would be unprecedented, I suppose. In most cases, when rates go down, the speculation and risk assets reprice higher. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I think I've been talking to a lot of people about this though. Like Bitcoin price tends to lead a lot of like the on-chain sentiment. And if you just look at like where Bitcoin price has been, or even like Ethereum price too in some ways, but like yeah, like the last from around May, right? Like from around May, we've kind of been hovering around the same level, and so I think a lot of people from May onwards kind of have felt, or like late May onwards, have kind of felt like the summer slowdown, and it definitely translates to narrative trading and so forth. The only things that I think have been doing reasonably well is kind of narratives upon narratives upon narratives. And I'm not a big fan of creator capital markets. I know that's a lot for an introduction, but I think there's so much to talk about here.
Welcome, Farmer Joe. He hates creator
Welcome.
capital markets.
Yeah, I hate streaming, but no, I'm just kidding.
No, I mean, look, like I don't hate it per se. I just think the upside is more so
yeah.
to the streamers making money than having a $10 million runner. And look, the last people that I really want running a coin is a streamer that doesn't know Web3, probably doesn't make money online, and a couple $1,000 to rug a chart is plus EV for them. And
Yeah.
really, crime is legal.
Farmer,
Crime is regal.
do you mind before we get into this, do you mind just retweeting the stream link? I threw it in Telegram. That would be
Yeah,
super
sounds good.
helpful if you don't mind doing that. And your audience can see that you're actually talking about these theses. Yeah, on CCM, like creator capital markets, I definitely was fairly bearish on them. But in the recent days, I've seen like hot new hip hop call out pump.fun, by name as streamers doing clips and whatnot, doing crazy stuff. And I kind of then switched a little bullish, and obviously pumps performed really well. So I don't know if like hot new hip hop or like World Star. I don't know if you know these media channels, but like what you think about those kind of internet native media channels talking about pump fun for the first time in a streamer context.
Yeah, I honestly I haven't really noticed that. I'm familiar with those channels, but I think quite a lot of people more than we realize actually know about Pump Fun or know about meme coins, right? Like I think the vast majority of Gen Z millennials are at least meme coin aware, and
Yeah.
whether that was last cycle as like a aha moment, or this cycle as like a wow, this is so dumb, and now more along the lines of wow, these things are all going down. um, yeah, look, I think what Pump has created is exceptionally brilliant. Um, there's no arguing that Elon, whatever you want to call him, he's really on top of his game when it comes down to new narratives, new ideas, new features, new ways to monetize attention and culture. And historically speaking, like Pump has always been like basically at the bleeding edge of like whatever next narrative there is. So I think yeah, $4 billion pre-sale. Look, it's that wasn't like an unwarranted number. I don't think. I think far too many people on chain. I mean, to me that's like the first use case of like ICM. To be very honest with you, it was like the largest ICM community fundraise that there was. It was on exchanges, it was on chain. I mean, it was beautifully executed. But the problem was that everyone was looking for this like fast flip, double my money or 50% free money trade. And you can see it in the chart. I mean, look, it started to fizzle out. But the smart guys, and I know quite a few like crypto hedge funds, we're buying at 2 billion, we're buying at 3 billion. And, you know, if you were lucky, you caught it close to a billion. Simply because it's just such a basic, you know, it's such a basic trade. Like market cap is $1 billion and you're generating $1 billion in revenue. Like, and they've already promised that they're going to put it back into the token itself. So what does that do? Like you put $1 billion into a $1 billion market cap, you are going massively higher.
So what do you think happens when we get the pump airdrop? Do you think it's a bullish shakeout, bullish like selling? What do you think happens there?
No, I think you know you're gonna start to see like selling, because I think the people that are gonna get the airdrop are just, you know, I think right now if we were in like a massively upswinging market, then I think people would be holding this thing. But I think a lot of people are the funds are also going to people that have lost quite a bit of money too. I'll be honest.
True.
It's going to the traders that have been using Pump Fund or burning money through Pump Fund, spinning up coins, whatever, I guess too. But yeah, I think it's just going to a lot of people that have used it, and it's more of like a money back stimulus package, the way that I see it. But I don't know the actual percentage of tokens that they're airdropping, but it's a big boy.
So I guess that's the nuance around this pump trade is like at the bottom, you know, we didn't really, there still is no clarity on the flywheel. They've been buying back at 100% right now for like weeks. But I think at the bottom, a lot of people were saying, and we talked about this quite a few times on the show. I know a few of us longed at the Pico bottom there. So it was actually a great trade, but that was the big question going around is, you know, what are these buybacks going to look like? Elon's given us no clarity if it's going to sustain this 100%, if the 100% is just kind of.
Look, I think not tying yourself to a number is actually beneficial here, because it's at the end of the day, it's the protocol's money. It's discretionary, and Pump Fund will live as long as there is a daily runner. Let's call it a daily runner, or even like a weekly runner, right? You have something that is like a lotto casino prize on a weekly basis. People are going to continue playing in the MemeCoin casino. And when you have this much revenue spinning off from, you know, your front end, your DEX, you can create that environment or artificially create that environment. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I think this is actually a brilliant protocol and business move from the team. It shows that they understand what it needs to exist in their, you know, casino game, for there to be constant inflows of people. Pump is the greatest casino game of all time on the internet. It's the greatest lottery. Yeah, I mean, I love it at 8 billion. No, I mean, I love value, and I love, you know, when things are hated and underlooked. And I think right now, Hype and Pump, everyone's looking at this revenue meta. And this has happened in 2022 cycle when things started to like fizzle out. Revenue becomes the attractive meta when speculation stops being the meta. So, yeah, we're going to go through rotation.
Yeah, just to pull it up for people, I actually have the revenue dashboard, and I just before we get into that tweet there, Dom, just to share for everyone, because I think this is good for people to see. But I crunched the numbers this morning. As of like literally today, they are buying back 10 basis points or 10 bips of the supply, circulating supply every day. So over 10 days, they buy 1%.
That's crazy.
Hey, this dashboard is really cool. Did you guys make this yourself, or is this a public?
No, this is the Pump Intern, man. Pump Intern put it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And MCG is like, we're taking over Bloomberg here.
No,
We
that's
can send that to you. We'll send it in a private chat. But yeah, it's this has been live since they started the buybacks. It's super cool, and it shows how much revenue they have versus how much purchasing they've been doing. So like you can see at the top, they've already offsetting 7% supply of a $7 billion, fully diluted token is like nuts. Like they have been
Yeah.
going ham.
And only
Yeah.
350 billion of the 1 trillion is circulating. And, yesterday they bought 13,000 SOL roughly, or 12,800. But if you look at the revenue number, it is breaking all-time high on a revenue standpoint. So clearly there's traction here that's happening. Like these are numbers. This isn't.
Well, we can accredit that to CCM.
Just to clarify here, are they burning the tokens or are they accumulating under treasury?
That's a good question. I think accumulating. Like you said, they're a forward-looking team. I think they understand that having a treasury is probably more valuable in the long run than burning. What do you think on that, Farmer Joe? Like is having
And
that treasury? Yeah.
I think it's a tricky one, right? Because like I mean, you got to just compare this to like the equity markets, right? When a company buys back their stock, it's treasury stock, right? So it's I'm more for like the treasury side of things rather than just burning it. I mean, burning it is like good for like to me it just comes off as like the same net impact. You're taking away supply from the market, but then one of them is like it's limiting you from future incentives or whatever you need to do to like re-stimulate. Like you could do another points program with another airdrop, right? Like you would just keep the cycle kind of going. If you have a high enough treasury, people would catch on and the market would not be stupid. But yeah, I think just burning it is never the best idea. Partially because I'm more so aligned with teams and founders that are long-term aligned, and by not burning it, like by burning it, you're kind of showing to the market that you're price aligned in the short term, but not builder aligned in the long term.
Yeah. I mean, again, like you said, it's the same net outcome with a token and a treasury and token being burnt as long as it's not redistributed, of course. But yeah, I just feel like as soon as you burn the token, you kind of lose your cards. Like you show your hand. If you have the treasury, sure, down the road, maybe you can burn the whole thing at some point off a whim if you feel like it. But at least you have that, disposable supply to do as you please. So it's an interesting conversation. I always talk to founders. I tell them, hey, like if you're just not sure, keep the treasury for now. You can always burn down the road. You can't unburn tokens.
Sure. Yeah, you can't unburn the tokens. I mean, this is one of the problems with like ICM launches when you just launch a token. I mean, this is Pasternak. Ben Pasternak has always said this too. He had to buy his own supply basically, and that was like a tricky thing for him, because it became like the official launchpad token, not by choice, but kind of by accident, which is fine. I think he's done an amazing job. But yeah, look, like you said, like treasury makes the difference, and in ICM you kind of have to have a war chest for something, whether it's for a points program, airdrops, distributions, you name it. I mean, you kind of want to be able to recreate the funding environment where you're pre-selling tokens to VCs, but instead of doing it to VCs, you're doing it through the community. And I think that's really like what's more powerful to me, is like giving it to your actual believers. And I do this a lot with founders and token projects where I try to be like a helpful holder, and I think more people, I mean, this is a part of crypto that I think is really underlooked, is anyone who owns a very large portion of supply, I mean, even any supply, can be a really active contributor of feedback to the app, right? Like I've taken the initiative to like help founders modify their UX, or brainstorm some features, even if it's as simple as like Discord or Telegram community messages. Like these feedback loops are so beneficial to the actual teams that are building. And I think that's part of the beauty of having this like open discourse, where you don't really get that with Facebook or Instagram or, you know, some of these early stage startups. Like trying to get a hold of, you know, a team and being a part of like their open feedback. The way that they typically gather feedback is from like complaints and customer service. And like, I mean, look, like that only goes so far, but the social element of open discourse to teams, projects, and apps, I think is like one of the biggest underlooked areas of what ICM really is.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's spot on. You have that. I mean, like there are those pros and cons, right? It's not the traditional VC route, so you don't have that help. You know, some VCs work like accelerators and stuff, but you're right. You kind of have that substitution where you have a massive holder base and decentralized holder base that can all help in different ways. So it's massively overlooked, and I try to do the same thing. I would love
Yeah,
to
it's
go
like
back. Okay,
a
keep going.
lot of there's a handful of like hedge funds that are like really active, right? Like they call themselves activist investors. And in some ways, like token holders can be like the best activist investors to bring value forward to a token, to a project, to even like a founder. Like teams, like when you talk to teams building, there's a massive difference of like founders with this feedback loop. Like they just call it like a feedback loop. And so your goal as a founder is always to get somewhat of a feedback loop. That kind of is product market fit, because then once you have a feedback loop, you have iterations of your product, of your app, of your protocol. You start to, and for them, it's like as a team, it's like way more fun and engaging versus like imagine building in silence with zero feedback loop, with, you know, no community giving you ideas, with no activist holders of your token, or even like points program to give you feedback. It's very different.
Farmer Joe, do you have a project in mind that you think this really, really exemplifies this, or something that you're really bullish on where you're providing that feedback currently?
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily ICM focused, but like I just, you know, when I find an app or project that I really, really love, I think there's like two instances where I'll kind of highlight the first one. The first one was I was like accumulating a position from a token perspective in a team called IDEX, and I really, really liked their direction. They're kind of like the OG Ethereum DEX from like 2017. Smart team, but they were building something called like hybrid liquidity, so spot trading with AMM plus a centralized order book, which I thought was extremely innovative. And then they ended up pivoting to build at the time like a centralized exchange, but as a DEX format. So at the time it was like Hyperliquid like, and I'm like, guys, this is like a breakthrough, like centralized exchange depth of liquidity for perps and spot, plus, you know, the on-chain piece where you have fast performant trading. You guys clearly cracked the code. So, you know, unfortunately, Hyperliquid was just faster to ship, had more mind share, and just did a better job. So I'm happy to be right on the general thesis directionally. But from a returns perspective, it hasn't necessarily worked out. And I think I'm down like 50%. You know, I always assumed too, I'm like, oh, if Hyperliquid does well, then this whole sector of on-chain DEXs or centralized exchange alternative DEXs will do well, but it hasn't necessarily played out. And then the other one
seems like a winner take most kind of thing right now for on-chain
yeah,
trading.
I mean, I thought it was going to be a rising tide raises all boats type of situation, but look, we just haven't had that environment where one narrative drives everything else forward. It just hasn't been that type of alt season.
Why do you think that is? Just too much dilution in the market from a token standpoint?
Look, I think the market has just gotten smarter. I think the participants in the market know what they're looking at. They know some things are scammy. They know some things are, you know, better. But I also think it's like the amount of options, the amount of tokens that you have available in the open market right now. It's a fragmentation of liquidity. Just to go backwards a little bit, the other one that I really, really like recently is his dev is named Colada, and he's building Fidgetals. And so, I guess I've been tracking Fidgetals. They were kind of like the underdog to Collector Crypt and Courtyard, small volume, but to me they had like the best execution from a user interface perspective. And so I've
Are they an
been talking.
NFT or is there a token associated with the project?
Yeah, so Fidgetals actually doesn't have a token, so I'm just blindly kind of helping. I do this sometimes too. I mean, sometimes it results in me being an angel investor into the team. Sometimes it just out of personal interest, really. I mean, it just gives me a lot of fulfillment to be able to just do this openly. I think in Web3 you got to be doing things that you enjoy, and just if you're organically bringing value to people, the world will give you value back. So I try not to do this for a reason. I mean, working my bags is obviously the best reason, but there's things like Fidgetals where I think is extremely awesome, where Colada's really trying to digitize the whole Pokemon trading card experience. And so he just I think today is going to be some big announcement from a Vault partnership that they've got from a large American Vault partner to take custody of these collector cards. They're going to be adding like live pack features, streaming. So they know, like, I mean, the TCG community streaming and ripping, the ripping community is such a massive growing trend. We saw it in like COVID era when people were just sitting at home and sending $5 to someone on the internet to open up a pack and then have the contents of that pack be shipped back to them. But they're trying to do that in a digital way. So you can open a virtual pack. You'll have 7 or 8 cards in it, and those cards are all reflected as an NFT. And then after your pack is opened by the streamer, boom, it's in my wallet because I paid for it. Yeah, I think it's a really cool way to socialize in a hobby. And I'm also I think that there's purists of this, and this is not for everybody, because the purists of TCG or the purists of collectibles are like, I want the physical copy, like I want that, like it's not meant to be online. If I wanted to collect online, I might as well just trade NFTs. And I'm like, look, like, this is growing the pie. Like, you can still have your IRL experience where you go to a card shop, pick up a pack or pick up a tin or pick up a sealed box, whatever. But Pokemon is in TCG, and collectibles are an asset class on its own. So I think as a part of that, you have hardcore collectors that are focused on sealed products. You have hardcore collectors that are focused on graded products. And then you have the people that just want to open and stream and make content with it. And then you have the people that, I mean, the kids at the end of the day, that are actually using this as a game and trading it peer to peer, like we may have done when we were younger.
I would love to talk on this digital card meta. We're kind of saying digital collectibles, exotic RWAs is kind of what they've been coined as. We just talked about the winner takes most situation we're starting to see in crypto, where it's not necessarily a rising tide lifts all boats. There's so much competition right now, where it feels like everyone just popped up out of nowhere. Why do you go with Fidgetals rather than one of the handful of other companies kind of doing this right now?
Honestly, it's a good question, and I think it's the one that is built on Solana. I think that's like one of the reasons. So I think from a engineering perspective and intentionality perspective, obviously building on the fastest chain is going to serve you wonders down the line when you need to do more things. If there is a feature that needs performance, good luck trying to do that on Avalanche or Ethereum or whatever. All right, it's there's going to be advantages to doing it on Sol. I think the other part is like the distribution effects, right? Like, everyone knows about Solana. Solana is becoming the real-time blockchain, of choice to build on, the operating system of Web3 in a lot of ways. Anyways, yeah, long story short, and then just like the user experience, I've tried Courtyard and BZ and collector crypt, but you go into Fidgetals and it feels like they just nailed the TCG experience. And I think obviously it's going to be a winner take most type scenario, and the other ones are, leagues above, in terms of volume numbers and revenue numbers than Fidgetals. But I think once they solve like the sourcing challenge, because you're also needing to buy like $10 million worth of Pokemon cards every single month.
Right.
Like that is not easy, right? Like I think Courtyard now spends like $50 million on Pokemon cards or cards in
Jeez.
general
Wow.
every month. And so a lot of the reason why this asset class has been doing so well is a demand from the crypto side of things, where you're basically, it's a liquidity black hole, because we want it in a digital environment and we're willing to pay for it and we're willing to do stuff about it. So I don't know. It's very interesting. I'm super bullish on this category. I think it's awesome.
The category of Pokemon or just RWA and kind of like bringing typically liquid markets on chain?
Yeah, just bringing, there's not many things. So I think the easiest way to bring real things on chain is bring things that are real, and used by retail. I think that's like number one. Like collectibles is something that I think serves an interesting purpose. I mean, RWAs too, like I think, we will get into, and this might be like a next cycle type of event, because there's quite a lot of like regulations that need to change to make this happen. But I think, everything will be traded on a blockchain eventually, because it'll be more distributed, more accessible. And at the end of the day, it's like the one place that I feel like I'm in full control over my own money into, discretionary opportunities, versus, going into the stock market. It just feels so siloed, right? Like imagine, your money in, an equities portfolio account. Well, then it's almost like it's locked into a layer two. Like it's locked into the equity layer two, basically. Or you want to have like I mean, this all depends on what country you're based in, but in which brokerage you're from. But there are cash accounts, there are margin accounts, there are options and derivative accounts, and you got to get approval to trade each one of these assets. And just because you have your money in a cash account doesn't mean you can trade FX, and you got to bridge that over to another layer two. So
Yeah, it's annoying.
why don't we just have everything, in one place, where I'm in control and I don't have to wait 3 or 4 business days, maybe even 5. Sometimes, by the time I'm like doing things, it's a total of like 10 days to even move my money from one, equity layer 2 to an FX layer 2, to even putting it back into my account to, do some sort of private placement investment. Like it's just, there's so much friction with capital that I think, is changed with having money on chain. And I believe in this, like in this world where composability is the biggest unlock. And so the only way that you're going to have proper composability is if you do it on a way that resembles a monolithic style, everything in one place, everything on Solana maybe, or at the minimum be able to go from one place to another within 10 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever
So
it is.
do you think, we want to ask about, because we see you talking about Meteora and the Met airdrop next, but just to kind of close this off, I mean, obviously, Paul Atkins at the SEC says we want to have these like super apps where crypto and traditional finance can live in this harmonious environment. Everything is tokenized. This is like the new future. Like, do you think the liquidity in crypto just gets massive just based on those types of integrations?
Yeah, look, I think so. I mean, stablecoins are that on-ramp, right? Like the thing is, like, the massive unlock of this cycle was not that we could do more things on the blockchain. It wasn't meme coins, it wasn't anything else, but it was just the realization for most people, because I think when you try to explain blockchain to a lot of people, they view Solana, Ethereum, and Bitcoin as like the currency that they have to use or are tied to using to generate some level of returns. And last cycle, it really was like you had to be long Ethereum on all of these DeFi protocols to be generating, a set amount of yield. And we've pivoted kind of away from that, and now we have really good on ramp, off ramps on these chains, from that financial system, the legacy one, I guess, to the new one. And it's not, it's how do you do that, right? Like I don't have Ethereum in my, in my Chase, brokerage account or whatever. Like you get what I'm saying, Fidelity brokerage account. I have a US dollars, and so I want to move those US dollars to an on-chain environment. And it's just like, okay, cool. Like I did it on Solana, and it's great. Yeah, I think it's a massive unlock. It's a massive opportunity to bring opportunity forward. I think the on-chain yields are well in excess of market-based yields that TradFi is used to. I don't think that's actually going to sustain for the better part of the next 2-3 years. I think very quickly we have yield compression, and more capital fleeing on chain. And I think it's going to become very intuitive for people to be owners of their own money. Like I use Pay, for example, PAYY. And it's an amazing, crypto debit card. I can load it up with stables and I can spend it, Apple Pay. And I got the physical card, I guess, coming in the next like 2 or 3 weeks. And just showing people that is much more like that explains crypto to them far more than me explaining a meme coin to them. And I think that's like the biggest sign, like that adoption is very clear from stable coins, not Solana and meme coins.
Oh, here's the Pay app you just mentioned.
This looks pretty cool. I actually need to try it out. I'm surprised. I haven't heard of it
Yeah,
yet.
use my ref code. I posted a little kind of farming engagement post on how you can just retire off of 100K in Web3.
Oh, that's what that was.
Semi satire, because there's some things around that you'll probably notice once you actually use these applications. But yeah, I love Pay. I love Lighter. I think Lighter is going to be the closest thing to, I guess, a hyperliquid competitor in some ways. But their vault, their perps vault is generating like 56% yield. Now, as a new user, you can only deposit 25% of your stack into it, but that's still an implied yield of like 13-14%. And perps traders are usually losing money, and so the yield is, quote unquote, sustainable.
Right. So they're generating yield off fees and trader losses to what
Yeah,
trading
exactly.
platform?
It's called Lighter, lighter.xyz. Yeah, it's just something super cool that a friend of mine showed me. A little too late, quite frankly. I mean, people have been talking about it early this year, and honestly, I was just late to the game. I'm sometimes I'm just dumb. But again, just going back into the alternatives to centralized exchange thesis, I should have probably been looking at this one way before. Yeah.
That's cool. Interesting. Real quick, before we get much further, because we're going to talk about Met here. I saw you had a few tweets about that. We didn't get your background. Yeah, Meteor. We didn't get your background, though. So, Joe, do you want to give us
yeah. Oh, shoot. Oh, yeah. We're going way back now.
Yeah, we just kicked it off. I know. It's way, but let's hear it.
Farmer, you dropped in, Farmer Joe, and just started like cooking. So
yeah, I mean, appreciate for you guys letting me rant a little bit. There's always so much on my mind. I was actually nervous to get on this space because I'm just like, what am I going to talk about? Because like ICM isn't necessarily the hottest meta right now. We're just kind of waiting patiently as we ramp up some of these teams and kind of see what happens from like the first cohort.
Yeah.
But yeah, background wise, look, I've been in Web3 for, I guess to me, it doesn't feel like a very long time, but it really has been a substantial amount of time. I mean, late 2017 is kind of like the first entry into crypto Web3, mostly on like this idea that L2s and Ethereum scaling was going to become like the next hottest thing. Yeah, but I mean, I bought Ethereum and Bitcoin in I think it was like December 2017, November 2017, and walked away the next month thinking like, wow, I am a fucking idiot. But I actually, was following the space despite that event because I was just massively bullish in this opportunity to decentralize finance. I mean, just to be an owner of your own money and do things, natively on chain. And so I was following, securities tokens because I guess I have a finance background. Yeah, finance background. So the securities tokens and RWAs thing to me was just very organic in 2018. Kind of stepped away from crypto after like late 2018, all the way to like December of 2020. Still kind of like lurking, I would say, from curiosity, like bits and
And was that
pieces.
mainly due to just market conditions being pretty terrible?
Yeah, I think it was
Holding
just
a heavy bag. We all held a heavy bag.
Oh man,
then.
2017 was my
just the massive drawdown and pain. I was just like, look, like I am not built for this level of volatility. I am going to just put my head down, do my career thing, and grind. And crypto was always like an interest to me. And then 2019 came, 2020 came, and it was just like always going up and up. And I'm like, I'm really missing out on something here, aren't I? So I reached out to the same friend that got me into this Ethereum scaling thing, and he was building an on-chain sports betting platform and protocol. And I asked him like, hey, like what's going on? Like what's new? He's just like, well, like there's this thing called Polygon, and it's like fast Ethereum. I'm like, holy shit, like Ethereum's kind of cool, but you're telling me that you can do things fast now on a blockchain? Like everyone was just always pointing this triangle to me of like safety, security, speed. It's just like, choose two. You can't have three. So, Polygon was like, to me, I'm like, oh, you can have all three. Like that sounds pretty cool. And what's going on? And he's just like, well, there's these things called AMMs and liquidity pools, and you can like put pairs of tokens together, and that creates the liquidity for trading. And I'm like, so trading kind of came intuitively, or markets at least came intuitively to me. And for me, I'm like, holy smokes, like you're telling me that some of these tokens, like I can just pair the tokens and I'm earning like 100% yield. And that's what really sucked me in like January 2021 is the ability to earn massive amounts of yield, even if a lot of this yield was incentivized yield by the emissions tokens, fruit farms, dog farms, cat farms, you name it, there was a token for it. But I was just, basically at that point, I was a CT lurker playing Ponzi games in Discord communities. That kind of was like the first rodeo of things. And then I kind of stuck with it. I really did stick with it through the bull and bear, I guess, multi-bear dips, basically at that point up until like 2023 January, when Bitcoin was having like its moment under the sun. And I'm just like, holy smokes, I missed the NFT bubble. But there's this NFT thing on Bitcoin. Like everyone loves Bitcoin. If you can do NFTs on Bitcoin, you'll be able to do tokens on Bitcoin. And from that point on, I just kind of stuck around in the Bitcoin sphere for, I mean, well, really up until now too. Like I'm still very bullish on, Bitcoin price prediction, like price performance, and even like the native on-chain economy that is forming. I think a lot of the speculation has led to really positive outcomes. L2s, performance layers, programmability layers, interoperability upgrades, that was genuinely necessary. But here I am today. I mean, I've been a long time kind of soul lurker as well, and yeah, probably from like 2024, late 2020, mid 2023, really, or late 2023. I was kind of a soul bull. And those two are like my favorite chains from an environment perspective. Just Bitcoin because it's Bitcoin, and Sol because it's fast. I mean, long rant, but
So when you were getting into Polygon or Matic, whatever you guys want to call it these days, I'm assuming you caught a pretty nice run up on that then, because man, I
actually,
remember
as
that run.
funny as it sounds, I didn't, because I was so focused on providing liquidity pools on QuickSwap and getting incentivized, rewards from it, that I was so focused on like the yield, like the quick token going up and whatnot. I was just kind of selling it along the way. I was like a yield maxi. What got me into DeFi was being a yield maxi. But this is a nice little segue to Met, which I think is one of the best dexes, if not the best dexes in Web3 at all, like point blank.
Yeah, you have a few price predictions of Met. Obviously, we love Met on the show. We're excited for October, big airdrop coming. I'm assuming you're part of the DLLM squad. You're probably ready to eat off this Met airdrop.
Yeah, look, I've been liquidity providing on Met for like 2 years. 2024 points program was the juiciest one for me because there was nobody there, right? I think I was liquidity providing on Meteora when there was like $20 million of TVL on the whole chain, on the whole DEX. So it's pretty much like day zero, and they weren't even integrated. Like this was at a time when Soju and the team, Meow and I forget the other guy that's no longer with him, with Meteora for a lot of reasons. But I remember like they weren't even integrated with BonkBot, or they weren't even integrated with Shuriken. Like that's how early I guess I was kind of exploring it. But it was just the thing that caught me with Meteora is I'm like, wow, like this team ships like a very easy to use front end, and their pools and how they've structured them are very different than Radium at the time was like the biggest thing. And they didn't have concentrated liquidity at that point in time. I mean, Orca as well. And both of those were just clunkier to use. This was Radium, I think like V1 Radium, and it was a god awful front end that like barely worked. And to me, like the fact that Meteora came in with such a compelling product with something that actually worked, you can click through the menus. They had this thing called, DLMM, so concentrated liquidity. It was just really good execution. And, it's also a team that is well vetted in Solana. They built Jupiter and the whole aggregator model. So kudos to them. Like they know Solana DeFi and they know Solana, trading better than anybody else. And it's really easy to overlook this and kind of mid-curve it. But look, at the end of the day, I think, I don't want to speculate too much.
Give us the sauce, Farmer Joe. Give us the sauce.
Look, I think, $1 billion market cap is not out of the question. And that would imply like a $5 to $6 billion FDV. And I think a lot of people are thinking about this too much on the FDV side. Like we know that FDV is kind of a meme in a bull run.
Yeah.
Look at the numbers. I appreciate you guys pulling this up, but like DEX volume, it's a third of Uniswap, right? Okay. And then 7 days, it's, roughly a third as well. So they're doing similar numbers from a total, perspective as Hyperliquid. I mean, it's not the same level of fees, funding rates, volume, whatever. Like, but if you just go back, I think just to my post here, what was it? Yeah, so 6 billion market cap for Uni. So look, like if you just want to do like very like rough approximations, a third of the volume of Uniswap. Should it be a $2 billion market cap? Okay, maybe, right? Like, should it be, $2.8 billion like Pump? Maybe it gets there. Should it be, $18 billion like Hype? Okay, probably, that's far fetched, and that's right. That's dreaming too much. But I think to the people that are saying that, maybe it's like a $500 million market cap token, I really think that they're just not bullish enough. Like this is Solana has the narrative going for it as being the on-chain NASDAQ. And if you truly believe in this, you could just approximate like who is going to be the winner of trading index liquidity on Solana, and what should that be worth? I really don't think it's going to be, something as small as 1B FDV, like, or 2B FDV. It's way more important than that. And this team clearly has shown that not only do they have the revenue behind them, but they have the execution consistently to be the default DEX of all products. I mean, why wouldn't you? When they have so much programmability on your liquidity pools that they offer you.
Yeah, I mean, Met is already kind of going for this, decentralized approach where everyone kind of makes money using their technology. We were talking about revenue generating apps, and by the way, like Met is consistently in the top 5, if not that, definitely in the top 10 on Solana daily, right? So when you think of Hyperliquid, when you think of Pump Fund, both doing 100% buybacks, do you think buybacks are feasible for Met? Do you think that's something we see? And like, why are we seeing tokens like Uniswap or legacy coins, I guess I'll say, Dino coins, whatever you want to call them, that do no buybacks, they have no rev share, they're just simple governance tokens, still sitting in the top 50 on CoinMarketCap when you have much better fundamental projects sitting far below that?
I think it's really easy. This is a really easy question to answer because there's precedent towards this. Jupiter has been doing 50% buy, like 7 months ago. I mean, I don't know if this still holds, but like they buy back 50% from 50% of their revenues. They buy back, the token, and it's just very easy to It's just very easy to assume that the team is very, very much like aligned in doing this because they're going to continue doing things that have worked. And so if it worked for Jupiter, it's going to work for Meteora. And in fact, it's probably going to work better for Meteora because I believe Meteora actually earns more fees than Jupiter. And so yeah, I think it's one of those tokens that does extremely well after the original kind of sell-off from, I would say, like airdrop farmers. I actually don't think it's going to people that aren't bullish. Like it's not going to lazy farmers. It's going to people that genuinely believe in the DEX thesis. It's going to people that believe in Meteora. It's going to people that have like educated themselves from the team's documents and DLM, like LP Army community. And those aren't people that are going to dump instantly. It's not going to Ansem or some CT, cabal basically of influencers that have touched the product a couple of times and are just getting a free money airdrop. So I think, the points were well earned, well deserved by those who have used the product to generate themselves a P&L as a byproduct. And it's going to smart money. It's going to smart Web3 people. And I think the revenue flywheel that they can very easily announce 30, 60, 90, 180 days out creates one of those dynamics where the token price is not going to be down only because there is substance to it. I'm bullish.
We've seen a typical life cycle in the past, and I'll pull up the Jupe tab just to give an example. I'll just show the start.
I posted this up too because I think it's going to play out so similarly. You look at like when Jupe airdropped. What year was that? That was 2000 and.
I'll tell you right now, that was 24. Yeah.
What was it? 24? Okay.
Yeah. Early 24.
So 24, like it was kind of like bullish sentiment, probably honestly similar to the vibes that we have right now. And so you had but the thing is with Jupiter, everybody who used Jupe got it, right? And so you didn't have to be like a smart person to be getting this like stimulus package. In the case of like
Meteora, I sold mine pretty soon after because it was a sizable amount of money, and I'd been a Jupiter user going back to the very beginning of Solana.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like it was a product that was out for such a long time. And I think, it was, look, the Solana user count has exponentially increased from, that era, but I think a similar case plays out. You get an initial, dump, and then the revenue flywheel, buyback programs, smart money institutions, people looking for soul beta, even people, in hedge funds really are probably, going to be buyers of this at a certain price because they love the revenues that it spins out, or they love the potential of, buying and owning the best decks on, in Web3. A lot of the reason why people own Uni token, despite there not being a fee switch, and look, like that's another bullish thing about Met versus Uni, is Uniswap doesn't even have a fee switch that was implemented. I mean, I think there's a slight fee switch or something like that, but Uni doesn't even do 50%, 100% revenue buybacks. And so if they did, I think their token price would be 25, 30 billion FTV. Like, I don't know. Like,
there was a rumor for a while that they were going to turn that on, and I guess it just didn't end up happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's the longest standing rumor of that keeps pushing price upwards, or at least like keeps people on the sidelines. I think it's a large reason why the token only trades at 6 billion FTV versus something like Hype.
Maybe pull up a Uni chart real quick,
Yeah,
Dom, because this is like kind of sad in a lot of ways, because it is sideways for years. Like,
oh yeah,
this drives people nuts.
But I mean, that's all legacy coins right now, to be honest.
yeah, but you look at like July 2024, there was like a lot of clarity around revenue and fees, and so that spike, I remember like one of my friends who works at a crypto fund, from like I think it was like $5 or so, $6. He's just like, yeah, like a lot of this like fee flywheel hype was just getting started. And that's why we had that run to like $18. And then we just like stopped hearing about it, right? Like I think that's really what it came down to. I'm not too close to the Uni token story. It's not something that I hold. It's
also, they launched Uni Chain, which was pretty hype, but
massive flop. Yeah, like massive.
Yeah,
like,
I don't even hear anyone in crypto talk about Uniswap.
Yeah, so 9 billion FTV, right? Like, I mean, look,
what are we doing? What are we doing?
Do half of that. I mean, like, and it's the market cap that is impressive too, because the market cap is what's circulating, right? So you have a $6 billion circulating market cap. Look, I think it's just, I'm gonna quit Web3 I'll quit Web3 if Met is not at least $1 billion on, within the first 45 days of trading.
So can I ask you about this? Because like, I think a lot of these historical coins, a lot of their market cap is derived from just legacy long-term holders that have coins sitting in a Binance account from 5 years ago, and they just like
100%.
They don't look at it anymore. Like, that seems like that's more of the story versus, the product is good, etc. Do you think that maybe? Okay, I want to ask you a crazy question. Do you think Solana flips Ethereum? And then number two, do you think something like Met and some of these, Solana trading infrastructure, if it just surpasses Ethereum, like Uniswap, etc., kind of
what's the time frame?
OG DeFi tokens, timeline being like this cycle?
Man, like
Tough question, I know, but like next 24 months.
So I don't think Sol flips Ethereum this cycle.
Okay.
I think in like a bear market or something along those lines over the next like 4 years, there's probably going to be, I guess I'm just thinking like, what will attract more liquidity this cycle? Solana will attract more liquidity this cycle. Therefore, I'm more bullish on Solana outperforming Ethereum's price performance in this cycle. Now, in a bear market, what's going to attract more liquidity? Solana or Ethereum? I think it's going to be Solana, because they're going to ship Fire Dancer, they're going to ship more clients, it's going to become faster, and they're going to solve the problems of scaling that Ethereum hasn't solved at all. And I think Ethereum is one of those things where it's never I don't think it'll die. I just think the performance will lag for such a long time, and it'll become kind of a governance democracy brain drain, that Ethereum kind of becomes Euro poor in a way, and Solana becomes like, China, where you're like on the frontier of the next innovation, and it's just like look at China, like it doesn't, you don't have to be like bullish on the people or anything like that, but the relentlessness of the capabilities of the infrastructure of just being able to move fast. Anything new comes out of there faster than it does in other places. And when you're running a technology company and a protocol, your ability to ship quickly is really like what makes or breaks you. Like you look at the history of like any successful company that has done winner take most, it's never come historically from a product or team that was the most decentralized, the most bureaucratic. It always came from those who were able to work faster and work smarter than others. And so that's part of the reason why I'm more bullish. Like I'm bullish on Solana attracting more liquidity this cycle in the bull, and I'm more bullish in it attracting more liquidity in the bear. And give it a couple more cycles, and Solana will inevitably, I think, flip Ethereum. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, and maybe Ethereum solves a lot of these difficult problems that they continuously face. But it's just tough to be really optimistic on bureaucracy, and being lean and nimble is. I mean, Solana still proves that, right? Like I don't know, like I'm not a Sol maxi by any ways. Like I'm not even like a massive bag holder of Sol as a token. But I mean the tech, like I'm just so bullish on, new tokens, new builders, new narratives, giving me the opportunity as a trader to be right there at that, day zero or inflection point. And that's why I'm like bullish Solana. Like as a trader, you need to be bullish Sol as an environment for you to be on. Yeah, I don't know. That makes sense.
I think we agree. And we've been talking about this quite a bit on the show, whether it's going to be Ethereum as the institutional chain this cycle or Solana is going to be the institutional chain this cycle. You put out this tweet. You said Solana is the institutional asset of the cycle. You said Solana as a token rather than the chain. Ethereum was, yeah, you said Ethereum was last cycle's programmable money, but explaining Solana is infinitely easier, fast operating systems for money. I guess just summarizing this. So this is your opinion. You think Solana is going to be the place for institutional money rather than Ethereum, I guess, to add to your point you just made.
Yeah, look, I think there's an argument that the Ethereum crowd loves to kind of keep saying is, it's safer, more secure, more decentralized, and the future of finance needs to be on, a safe and secure layer. I don't disagree with that, but I also, think that Solana is safe and secure enough. I mean, there's been no downtime as of late, I guess. So it's still,
When was Trump Melania? I guess that would be the last outage, right?
Did
Or,
it
no,
actually?
no, you're right. It didn't go out.
It was even before. It was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a really long time since we've seen an outage, and I think like the Ethereum people, and I was one of them last cycle. I was looking at Solana. I'm like, this chain goes down, therefore it's centralized. Like, why would I be using this thing? Like, somebody can just rug all my money on the chain, and that was like honestly like that was the main reason not to use Sol, is because it was one of the only blockchains that had outages, and people were just like, damn, that makes me nervous. Like even if they always came back, but like that piece always made big money, hedge funds, institutions extremely nervous. So not having that this cycle is a testament to the team actually.
In fairness, though, to Solana, I think I just did a quick Google search. It said February 2024 was a 5-hour outage to a known bug that they did fix really easily. But before that, I think it was February 2023. It was 18 hours. But this is nothing new. I mean, the NASDAQ and all traditional markets trading infrastructure has had days where they have had complete outages, or New York City had like a flood from a hurricane that that stopped trading. So it's like, it's not unusual for even traditional finance to have an outage every 5 to 10 years at least once.
I mean, they have breakers too, right? So even when nothing
Yeah,
goes wrong.
exactly.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, yeah, 100% agree.
Okay, so I'd love to get your take on ICM. Obviously, you're working closely with ICM.run. Mercy introduced us, particularly. What's kind of your role there? What are you most excited about for ICM.run, and just I guess ICM as a whole?
Yeah, I think it's super broad. I mean, it's very open ended in terms of the involvement. I think my passion and interest really comes down to, when things are a little bit more mature from a product perspective. I'm super, excited about teams being able to crowdfund from the community from a global perspective. And I think, that level of opportunity kind of still exists in Echo group chats when it's pre-product, but I think, post-product, pre-TG, I think, people should be able to, buy in. So look, I think it's like super open-ended. I've given kind of a couple of introductions and so forth. But I think I'm more post inflection point rather than ground zero type of involvement. But it also is nice, I've been in the space for such a long time that I'm happy to give teams feedback on how they should be thinking about the product, the tokenomics maybe, and UX. Like I said, like I'm big into giving feedback to teams that have consumer apps. Like I think that's what I love to do, really more than anything else. So we'll see what comes up.
Consumer apps is a big focus of yours. That's interesting. Speaking of feedback, though, I'd love to hear your feedback on this. Right, Ben Pasternak put out a post. He said, "Believe will penalize rotators at the platform level. Rotators will ruin the ecosystem. Everything great in the world starts with belief and ends without it." This is a quote tweet, obviously from Frank, who said, "If sellers are unpunished, then the ceiling will never be broken." What are your thoughts on that?
Oh man, hold on. Let me just. This is my first time kind of seeing it.
And I'll even go back one. Vibu quote tweeted this. So it's a quote tweet of a quote tweet of a quote tweet. And Vibu said, "People are clowning on Ben, but this is pretty much how VC works. And I think it will work well in crypto. Reputation matters. As a founder, you want investors with demonstrable long-term conviction on your cap table. You could earn on-chain credit for positions you hold and don't sell. This credit could be used to receive priority and early whitelist access to new startups and tokens. Rewarding conviction is greater than punishing rotators." So that's
Look,
like the full picture.
I think that's okay. That gives me a lot of context here as to where Ben's head is at. I think this makes a lot of sense, right? Like, if Believe is to be crowdfunding, startups at the earliest stage, you want your believers to be, those that have high conviction. You don't want traders on your cap table. I mean, we see this in the capital markets all the time. Like when you're doing an IPO roadshow, the last thing that you want is day one flippers. I'm not saying that you tend to know who those funds, and I've worked in this space, so I mean this gives a lot of context. But the last thing that you want is your token or the TradFi world, like your equity, to go to hedge funds that are going to either short the shit out of it and lock in their gains, because there's this like secret way to make money in the hedge fund world is you're long the IPO, you show that you're an owner, but short interest is rarely disclosed and fully transparent as much as equity ownership is. And so you could just go short, pay the funding, or pay the borrow, and slowly exit your position, and say, oh yeah, like we exited our position after a quarter because things changed and we didn't like this news or this or that. So I think when it comes down to Believe focusing in on ICM, I think he's really trying to talk about who owns the token from day zero, who's participating in somewhat of a pre-sale round or whatever. And you really want to basically have the high, like at the end of the day, like teams with the highest value owners, whether that's, like I said before, people who give feedback, people who work their bags, people who make new introductions, that is who you want to be holding your token. And so this holder credit score or this holder score is actually, something that we've seen kind of loosely in some places. I think Virtuals is actually the one that had the best environment for that. And so, some of the earliest diehard Virtuals believers, who, I think round tripped the hardest, but were able to, quote unquote, mark to market win the most in the upswing. Those are the types of people that you kind of want to, embrace a meta. And so I think selection is going to be very important. I think, you look at the world today, and capital is always going to be there. But quality of capital is the differentiator. And so who you allow into a pre-sale, or, who you reward to hold your token, I think that makes a lot of sense. It's a rating of, it's like a believer score, really.
And how do you do this while also being like giving democratized access, right? So anyone can get a part of it, but we're also rewarding, like you said, that capital that's actually going to be progressive for a project.
Yeah, I mean that's the look. I think that's the tough part, right? It becomes kind of a DAO's fund type model, and I think eventually there's just so much interest because people see the returns you get from, quote unquote, believing, that everyone wants access. And then initially your whole platform was about democratizing access, and then you have the early adopters basically keep eating because they were the first ones to generate their social credit score in a way, or this quality of capital score in funding. So it's a tricky one, right? Like I think whoever cracks this problem is on a beautiful trajectory. But I think there's a lot of people that think your vote with your capital is the only one that really matters at the end of the day. And we'll see. I mean,
You made an interesting point. You said quality of capital is important. We see Solana traders right now being very quick in and out. Do you think like Solana needs to mature as a chain to get that high quality capital to come into it?
No, I mean, look, I think if you just look at any sort of successful industry, it starts with speculation, and that speculation leads to outcomes, and then it leads to maturity. And I don't think the players that are playing these speculative games are the same ones that are going to mature into being quality capital.
That's a great take.
The same ones that played the .com bubble, the retail traders, the boom and bust kind of hedge funds at the time that were doing quick flips, hype investors, like even last cycle, for example, there was quite a lot of like speculative funds, 3AC being one that was boom and bust, and Alameda being another one that was definitely boom and bust. But I think those same participants, once the industry matures, once capital matures, once products mature, they're not the same players. Like Polychain did well, 4 years ago, and back testing their strategy, it worked well up until the environment that we're in right now, which doesn't have a lot of speculation, because they were really good speculative investors more than anything else. They were big into trading narratives that were hype and new inflection points. But once you start to get like RWAs, tokenization of real assets, bonds on chain, this more traditional mature industry finance stuff, the strategy seems to have gotten out of favor. And so there's not a lot of VCs that can be good speculative investors and then position themselves to be mature, high quality capital, I guess, long-term believers, as they like to.
Interesting. I like it. I like it. New capital is going to be what maybe fuels the next wave, and I think I totally agree with that.
It's got to be new money. There's got to be new money coming in, and whoever that is going to be deep pockets, and there's going to be a lot of smart people that I think play the game better than we've been playing the game. But look, meme coins are all rotational. That's not going to change, and narrative hopping is genuinely never going to change. I don't think.
I do have a question on this because I was there in the penny stock, Timothy Sykes penny stock boom of like 2010 to 2013. And back then it was like Yahoo message boards. It was really the rise of like microcap speculative investing getting really popular on the internet. Like, do you think that crowd will come onto Solana at some point with this ICM narrative, like the penny stock crowd? And like, or do you already think they're already here?
No, so I think part of it is we've kind of recreated social trading in a lot of ways with CT, right? Like CT is social trading amplified for crypto and Web3. It's not necessarily in a centralized depository, and it's kind of chaotic and it's entertaining. I mean, I view myself halfway as an entertainer and halfway as a trader. But I do things because it makes me laugh, and it also makes me money, I guess, just for existing. So it's a win-win. But I think Robinhood is, I don't know if you saw, but they have this thing called Robinhood Social, and Robinhood is the biggest retail trading platform for equities and options, and let's just call it like retail speculation. They're also a company and team that really cares about crypto. And what's going to happen is this intersect of like Robinhood Social, we're going to have, micro boards of like people thinking about ICM tokens and revenue tokens and DeFi tokens. There's going to be these mini communities, this CT feed, so you will, in this category of this. I mean, StockTwits is like, people love engaging with StockTwits, and it's a smaller niche crowd that I think doesn't necessarily bleed all the way through to retail. I mean, retail looks at StockTwits, but isn't necessarily inclined to make an account and become kind of join that metaverse, right? And so I think people will join the metaverse of becoming social traders on Robinhood, and they're going to be multi-asset, they're going to do, options, they're going to do equities, they're going to trade, microcaps, they're going to trade MemeCoin tokens. And I think, this is great. Yeah, I love how you guys are so quick with the visuals here. But
we actually appreciate that you like the show. So I have to add this in because on StockTwits, we very often, almost on a daily basis, we actually have more watchers on MCG than StockTwits. Just as a funny aside, but
interesting. Yeah.
So
no,
I don't know if that plays into the thesis, but like crypto Twitter is really grown, and we've even eclipsed Real Vision often. StockTwits we've eclipsed quite a few actually just on this channel, which is crazy.
That's wicked. So social trading, I think, is going to be like one of the awesome things that democratizes information, right? Like Robinhood has been democratizing access to trading institutional grade instruments. Look, I think they get a lot of shit for this by giving highly volatile instruments to retail traders. But I think, if you truly believe in an open market or free access to democratization of every single financial tool and true freedom of control of your own capital, people have to make mistakes and do really dumb decisions to become better at their craft and hone in on their skill set. And maybe they realize that it's not a game that they want to play, and that's totally fine. And there's ETFs for that, and they can do it on Robinhood as well. And they can build a community around, saving for the long term on Robinhood. Maybe they'll do maybe they do like a discretionary piece of their portfolio, but at the end of the day, it's all about, educating yourself. And but by giving people open access, I know there's this like conservative crowd of saying the people aren't ready for freedom and the people aren't ready for like you're allowing people and enabling people to make massive financial mistakes. And I'm just like, well, yeah.
Yeah, but on this Robinhood demo here, all they have is a For You feed and a follow feed. So you can follow traders. You're seeing real-time purchase or sell decisions that those traders are making. So it's kind of like copy trading. But they also are adding in context too. So they're saying a little mini tweet style thesis. And then here's my trade card is what I think I see there. I don't know, Dom, if that's accurate, but at least
I have to look again.
What it looks like here. But yeah, right there. If you pause that.
Oh,
so all in one place right there. So they have like the ability to like, bookmark, retweet. I guess if you go back to that order, it looked like it was another trader who had placed that order, and then you could also place an order over top of it.
So copy trading in a sense. This is super cool.
Yeah, exactly. And look, I think you're going to be able to do this with crypto assets. I mean, you could see right there, BTC, like Robinhood trends, right? It says BTC there. So there's soft teasing that this is not going to be just for equities, but it's going to be for crypto assets. And so, yeah, there's going to be, copy trading of meme coins, like, or the popular ones, at least the ones that have higher liquidity. Yeah, they're looking at on-chain trading as well, or DEX level trading as well. So yeah, where is that all going to flow to? Well, it's going to flow to maybe Meteora, right?
There's plenty of directions they could take this. I mean, Robinhood has undoubtedly been on the cutting edge of, making finance easy for the masses for so long. We just saw recently they had privatized equities, privatized stock go on chain, right? You can actually trade that. I think they used Arbitrum maybe as the chain of choice, but like they're doing cutting edge things and bringing it on chain, which like I wouldn't be surprised if in the future we see ICM and Robinhood working hand in hand, at some capacity, right? Whether they're listing real estate, whether they're listing other markets that are typically unavailable and illiquid. So yeah, Robinhood, man, they continue to impress me with their innovation. I love
100%.
Robinhood.
I mean, they allow you to buy into these IPOs. Look, I know some people get annoyed because they get allocation for one share at $30, and they get pissed off by that. But no, I mean, like they're just trying to democratize access, right? Like, and Robinhood actually has this, quote unquote Robinhood holder score. If you just cheat your IPO shares, the next one you're probably not going to get anyways. So the free market isn't always going to be as free as people want it to be. There's always going to be a level of information asymmetry, and I think behind the scenes, the people that are doing this or buying things for the right thesis, the more long-winded, higher longevity thesis, are going to be the ones that tend to get access. So I think those who have a longer time frame, I guess, outlook on life in general, they tend to get rewarded by the world a little bit better. I don't know. It's more philosophical. But
does Robinhood even have prediction markets now? Like, this is crazy. I don't really use Robinhood as much as I should probably, but this is awesome.
Yeah, Robinhood's just trying to be the super app of everything, really. Futures, predictions, markets, sports betting, crypto. Man, I'm just, like when the stock market goes down and we have a collapse or some sort, it's one stock that like I would just love to own for a massive recovery, because they just know where to go. Like it's just a very high quality team.
Okay, well, we've taken a lot of your time. We don't want to hold you for too long. I think maybe as a last thing to kind of close this off is we'd love to hear kind of your top picks, what you're most excited about. You were talking a bit earlier about some stuff you were excited about, but we'd love to get maybe some tickers that you're most excited about, some theses. Top three. Let's hear them.
Well, look, I'm designed to shill the coin that I accidentally started as a Bitcoin meme coin called Pups is the number one. Yeah, Pups. It started on Bitcoin, and then we bridged it over to Solana because Solana is the Nasdaq of Web3, and it, at peak hit $1 billion market cap, and it's still, to me, the best culture coin and the best meme coin. But I'm biased. Maybe let's not pull the chart up because it's been down only. But good things come to those who wait. And there's a couple of things that I'm personally building as like a fee flywheel as well. That should be quite interesting. Yeah, I mean the other two, I guess I'm just so bullish BTC is like I can't stress this enough to people, but you should your goal as a trader should just be always just to stack BTC. I mean, it took me a couple of cycles to remind always stack sats. I mean, it's easier said than done, but it's just, eventually you just build this routine that is your end game. Like, don't be holding. I mean, I still own some stables, but I really don't own a lot of stables relative to my BTC position, just because like BTC is gold to me. It's digital gold. It's always going to go higher. So you're always rotating back to BTC. So that's, I guess, number two.
Can you explain that vision? Like, why is it important as crypto natives to really continue to just have that constant DCA and flow back into Bitcoin?
I think, the key part is like, if you truly believe in Web3 and in crypto, this is God's chosen asset. It's the OG. It's the Godfather. And from a global, I guess, liquidity perspective, it's the most understood because it's so simple. It's not trying to be, I mean, it's a blockchain, sure, but it's not positioning itself as a programmability layer. It's positioning itself as an asset first. So one, I think Bitcoin is an asset designed to be kind of, against fiat in a way. Anti-inflationary, and so it's safe, secure, 21 million supply. It's just a great asset. Like, I just cannot, like, there's not a lot of assets in this world that are finite, digital, programmable, and going to be integrated with whatever financial system that we build, this quote unquote future of finance. If we build the future of finance, it's not going to be future of finance with fiat stablecoins.
Yep.
There is going to be a massive Bitcoin element. It's going to take some time, but it will happen. So,
and I think
that's the reason why it's so important.
I think that's the thing most people miss, right? Bitcoiners aren't interested in what the US dollar value is against Bitcoin, right? At some point, the vision is we won't have a US dollar, we won't have a euro, we won't have a Swiss franc, right? It'll be.
I think that that's another level of extreme. I think that's how the maxis view it. I think you don't have to go that polarizing to be, I would say, like a Bitcoin bull. It's really just as simple as like, do I want to be stacking USD that has negative yield because of inflation? Or would I rather be stacking BTC, which is finite and is only going to be in higher demand? Now, I mean, there's ultimately like a lot of inflation hedges, but as a currency, to me, as an asset and a currency, it kills two birds with one stone, right? Like, I mean, you could be stacking S&P stock, sure, but I can't really buy S&P stock on chain, right? Like, so what's the next best thing? Well, I can buy
Galaxy Digital.
Yeah, sure. I can buy Galaxy Digital, or I can buy, an RWA that's gold. But look, you're in Web3, so you got to go with the Web3 asset of choice as digital gold, which is Bitcoin. And then I guess just a trade idea that I've had for this one I've been kind of positioning myself for a little bit. So there's a team called Joe, Trader Joe, not Farmer Joe, but there's a Trader Joe, LFJ. They got rebranded probably because Trader Joe's might have asked them to rebrand. But they're the kind of OG decks on Avalanche, and they're launching this thing called token mill. So they've launched it already once. It wasn't necessarily super successful. Yes, it's Let's Fucking Joe LFJ. Yeah, but it's not on Sol. It's on AVAX. I think it's just called Joe token.
Trading View. I'll try and
just try Joe. Yeah, that's it. Joe token. Yeah, 71 mil market cap.
Oh, nice.
So this team is creating a launch pad called Token Mill, and Token Mill is trying to go for the launch pad, of pumping runners. So originally they had this kind of king of the mill type model where you had the trading fees of all coins launched go into groups and buckets of like sub 50 mil market cap, 100 to 500 mil market cap, and 500K to I think 2 mil market cap. And yeah, so the MemeCoin game was missing. Yeah, so they're relaunching, I think, tomorrow. The first launch that they had didn't necessarily go too well because one, they were an AVAX team. They weren't integrated with all the trading terminals and bots, so visibility wasn't necessarily very easy. And they're using their own AMM as well, which makes it a little bit more complicated. I think, if they just did this with Meteora, they would have saved themselves quite a bit of iterations and time. But the lead token there, or the one that has the highest market cap with the most, I would say, like functional and still kind of thriving community, is called Fishwheel, FSHWHL. It's ultra small market cap. I mean, it had its run to like 3.7 mil market cap at its peak. I think yesterday it was like 100K market cap. Today they just announced they're relaunching. And last I checked, it was 200K market cap, and now it's 500K market cap. So, yeah,
this is the stuff we like. We like the micro caps, right? So,
like micro caps. So, look, I mean, I added some more at 100K. I first bought it at $1 million market cap, and I was just DCAing all the way down to 100K. So, I'm bullish. I think the team will do something interesting. And as kind of the unofficial, lead runner, I always just have this thesis towards like just buying the main runner on all of these launch pads. It's kind of the best RR that you could get. Yeah. So
as a beta, instead of buying like the 75 million market cap.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, I would just rather size in an appropriate amount and bet on the winner. I mean, it's historically just been the winning trade in any environment. You look at NFTs, you look at launchpad coins, you look at meme coins. Just ape the main runner or ape the launchpad token. And in this case, they don't have a launchpad token, so they are going to be accruing fees and pumping their coins basically from their launchpad. And yeah, we'll see if it works out. But they claim to be wanting to pump 1,000 SOL in a single god candle to the leading token with the highest market cap. You do the math on a 50, on a 40K liquidity pool. What happens when you pump 200K in a single god candle?
I hope you have your limits, dude, because if you pick the main runner here,
yeah,
that TWAP is gonna go crazy.
Sorry, this is it's your third pick. Just to clarify for everyone on the channel, you say LFJGG doesn't have a token, but you're thinking FSH.
Oh no, they have a platform token. And sorry guys, I got a hard stop at 2:00 Eastern here.
Yeah,
so
go for it.
I gotta hop off, but TLDR, they have the Joe token, but I just love meme coins, and this is the winning organic meme coin that I think is going to get the first,
got it,
god candle $240,000 max bid crime candle. And so that's part of the reason why I'm bullish. But appreciate you guys having me. This is super fun. Happy to do it anytime again and chat microcaps like this.
That was great. Okay, well, then we'll have to get you back on to pick your brain on that, Joe. But super great conversation. Thanks for coming on.
Take care.
All right.